Jackie, can you still hear me okay?
Yes, I can, Linda. Sorry, we're just trying to figure out something on the computer really quick.
Okay. I couldn't hear anything, so I was just making sure.
Hello? London, did you just see this correspondence that came through in regards to the signage from an attorney's office?
Yeah, I saw that from Jeff Aram.
Requesting a pull of that agenda item. Okay.
Yeah, he lists some really good qualifiers.
Yeah. Unfortunately, 10 minutes is not enough time to become more informed. And
that's why maybe it can be pulled and delayed till another meeting. You know, we'll have to see what they want to do. Yeah. Yeah.
That's
Six.
Welcome to the Oroville City Council meeting of December 1st, 2020. Clerk, will you call the roll?
Councilmember Pittman? Here. Councilmember Smith?
Here.
Councilmember Draper?
Here.
Councilmember Hatley? Here. Councilmember Goodson?
Here.
Vice Mayor Thompson?
Here.
Mayor Reynolds?
Here. Will you stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance?
Pledge allegiance to the flag
To the republic for which it stands, one nation,
under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, I'm looking for a motion to adopt the agenda.
I move that we adopt
I
the
move
agenda.
I second.
Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Councilmember Draper.
Yes.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open the meeting up for public communication. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone from the public who wishes to communicate on a non-agenda item?
Mr. Mayor, I will check with the online community in just a second. A written communication, I have received a non-agenda item, written communication from Don Foltz, which I have emailed to all of you, and also one from Lorraine Christensen, which I have emailed to all of you. And then the only other written communication I have, Lorraine Christensen sent an email comment in for item number 8, which I've also emailed to you. So all 3 of those you guys have received. Let me check with the online community. Are there anyone on Zoom that wishes to speak on non-agenda items?
I received them.
Yes, I would like to.
All right, I will set the timer for 2 minutes. It's
Can we please have you identify yourself before you start speaking?
My name is Celia Hirschman. I live on Montgomery Street in Oroville, and I've lived here for 10 years, actually 11. I wanted to talk on behalf of the idea that the city is continuing to contemplate buying full shares in the Southside Community Center. And it is clear the large crowd out here, like them, I attend events at the Southside Community Center. I find it to be an integral part of living here. It is a community center, and I can't imagine any reason that the city should want to take away the community center from the community. I urge you to consider working with Kevin Thompson and his crew to negotiate the best solution for Oroville, not the city of Oroville, for the community of Oroville. Thank you.
Any more speakers on non-agenda items? Mr. Mayor, I am not seeing any more individuals that are asking to speak on non-agenda items.
Okay, having no more speakers from the public, we are closing public communication. I'm looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor, if I could,
I
I
move
would.
that we adopt the consent calendar.
Mr. Mayor and Council, prior to that motion, I would request to pull item number 3.
Did you wish to comment on item number 6? You wanted to move it?
When we come to that, yes, but right now on consent, I'd just like to pull item
Well,
number
this
3.
is on, 6 is on consent.
6 is a public hearing.
Oh, this,
Mr. Mayor. It switches right there on you.
I'm sorry. Okay, looking for a motion to adopt the consent calendar with item number 3 pulled by City Administrator Legrone.
I move that we approve the consent calendar exempt agenda item number 3.
I'll second that.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Mr. City Administrator, you pulled item number 3 from the consent calendar. Do you wish to comment?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just wish to provide the council some additional details on this property, just so that everybody is familiar with what the property is and why we're doing what we're doing right now. The property is a vacant lot that is located behind the Oroville Inn, between the Oroville Inn and Montgomery Street, next to Creative Imaging, right off of Downer. There was a building there several years ago. I believe the name of the business at the time was Putman's Antiques, and I believe it burned down. And then the building was razored off of the land. Prior to that, the city had owned property. Prior to that building being there, when Councilman Hatley was on patrol in the early 50s, that was a gas station. Okay, McGinnis is, over the course of many years, why that's been going on down there, many tanks have been put in the ground in and around that property. Over the course of the years, the streets have moved slightly and caused those tanks to either be on that property, in the sidewalk, in the street, or half in the street and half in the sidewalk in that whole area. We have a real, we have a mess down in that area. And for whatever reason, the city decided to buy that property with the RDA dollars. So now since the RDA was eliminated, that property has become part of the successor agency. It is one of the last properties that the city has in its inventory before we can close that RDA out. So what we're suggesting that we do with that property right now, so the city can be the sole controlling entity of the property and make the decisions for the property, is that we purchase it from the RDA, the successor agency, which essentially is ourself. We have to purchase it or make the offer. We will pay full appraised value, which is $30,000. That will go to the county successor agency, who will be the oversight for the 14 taxing agencies. The monies, after they go there, we will receive back approximately 24% of that, or $7,500. So your purchase price for the property is going to actually be about $22,500. We'll get $7,500 back. The rest of the money will be split among the other 14 entities that make up the successor agency, or the RDA, those taxing entities. Once we obtain the property, then the council is going to have to make decisions about what they want to do with the property. Now, the reason why we don't just take the tanks out and then sell the property is because we come back to the appraised value of the property. The appraised value is $30,000. That's what we can sell it for. We're not going to get much more than that. So if we want to invest $100,000 so that we can sell something for $30,000 and then share the money that we're going to get from that with the other taxing entities, it would make sense to do that. To me, that doesn't make any sense. It makes sense to become the one that is in control of the property. I think as a city and as the RDA, we also have an obligation to make sure that the site is cleaned up, the tanks are removed, and that it is a usable piece of property. You know, I first toyed with the idea of encapsulating the problem, but the more I thought about that, that's just kicking a can down the road and making a time bomb for future generations to have to deal with, because eventually somebody's going to have to come across that and deal with it. So we need to start dealing with these problems that we have either inherited or created. So what we're suggesting that we do is we do that. Once we're done with that, we'll be back to the council. If the county successor agency approves this in January, that's why it's important to do now, is because they meet once a year, that's next January, and the Department of Finance for the state of California approves the sale. There should be no reason why they wouldn't approve the sale when we're paying full value for the property. Once we do that, we'll have to come back to the council. Right now, staff's thought is that the highest and best use for the property would be a parking lot downtown to remove the tanks, fill the area, pave it over. And the reason why a parking lot is because I believe it will support the businesses downtown, but it also preserves the property with nothing on it, so that when something comes along that's better and a higher and better use for the property, we can easily move the property because we haven't built anything essentially on top of it other than some flower beds and some parking spots. It is an expense, but I think it really cleans up that area. It supports our downtown businesses. It supports the whole area. So that is what our thoughts with that. The reason that we are dealing with it, like I said, right now is because of the timing of the meeting with the Oversight Board for Butte County. You know, it was important to have, I believe, this information put out there about what we're dealing with, because I have somebody that oftentimes provides me advice regarding council items, and one of the things that she thought on this was that looking at it, if you don't have this additional information, it could appear to the average person that the city is self-dealing, since we are selling a piece of property to ourselves, and it just doesn't look good. So the person that helps me out quite a bit thought that it would be best to bring this and just take a couple minutes, explain it to the council. Council probably had all of this information or was aware of it, but those that are not familiar with the item, it's good information for them to have about why we're doing what we're doing, because as an average person sitting out there listening, I would wonder to myself, who in the world would buy a piece of property like this? Well, the only person who's going to buy it is its owner who's stuck with it. But what this does is this, if approved, gives you exclusive control of the property. It makes an investment that is It's not a wise investment, but it is an investment where you can at least start recovering some of your dollars at some point, and it just preserves the property, and it does support the downtown businesses and the infrastructure of the city. So with that, I will be quiet or I will answer any questions that anyone may have regarding the property.
Well, this sounds like a money-hungry power grab, and I want to know what's going on here.
Well, it wasn't the city that did it. Well, I shouldn't say that. We did, as the RDA buy it, now we need to deal with it. I mean, and just so the council's aware, there's at least, on that particular piece of property, there's 6 tanks in and around and on that piece of property. But in the general area, there's as many as 10 tanks. Some of them that go into the sidewalk and the street just up the road a little bit, because there were fueling stations there, and the roads moved and widened since then, and now those are in the public right-of-way. The city of Oroville, in years past, decades past, has taken that into the city right-of-way, paved over the top of it, and become the proud owner of a empty tank now. So at some point, we have to start dealing with those things. I mean, these are all ticking time bombs. I mean, not only for us, but for everybody around them. It makes it difficult to move a piece of property, develop a piece of property, or to sell a piece of property. And sometimes it's our fault as a city organization. I mean, so we need to grab a hold of it and start dealing with it, I believe.
Okay, I got one more, and then we'll move on.
All right.
And I thought this was a tankless job.
Yes.
Madam Clerk, do we have any comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor, I do not have any written communication on this item. Those that are on Zoom, is there anyone wishing to speak on item 3?
I'm fine.
Mr. Mayor, seeing none of the public, it looks like there are no speakers on this item.
Having no speakers from the public, appears we have Councilmember Pittman in the queue to speak.
Yeah, short question with all the sewer replacement work being done there, I'm curious if the contractors happen to run across or uncover any part of the tanks as they're digging fairly closely to those locations.
You know, you and I have the same thought process on this, and I wish them all the bad luck in the world to have to go right through them, to have to clean them. However, the lines were put in such a way that they're on the opposite side of the road. So I believe the tank existed either before or in some instances, or just prior after the line being installed, because the line manages to miss every single one, even the gas line. I mean, I was hoping that their new layout would go right through the middle and be like, well, you know, sounds like you had a bit of, you know, bad luck today, but unfortunately, no, none of the gas lines or the sewer lines in the area replacement are going to hit any of those.
I was just curious. Thank you.
Yeah, no, it's a good question, though. I mean, if we could slide it on to somebody else, that'd be fantastic. But.
Are there any other questions from the dais?
No. thank
Having
you.
none, looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 2002.
So moved.
Second.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Okay, at this time, we will open the meeting up to public hearings. We have 3 items. Item number 5 on the agenda is a proposed amendment to zoning code, including 4 minor amendments. A, modifications to allowed uses in residential districts. B, clarifying a mini storage reference in commercial districts. C, clarifying the definition of personal services, low impact. And D, updating the car and vehicle wash code to align with state law.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and council members. Connor Musler, planning intern. This item is for 4 proposed amendments to the city's zoning code. The first item is amending table 17.28.010-1 relating to permitted uses in residential districts. This change would no longer permit detached single-family dwelling units in an RP zone and will no longer permit single-family manufactured homes on permanent foundation in R3, R4, and RP zones. This change is because the city's general plan policy, P 3.6, states that R3, RP, and R4 zones should be reserved for higher density housing. So this change would just align our city zoning code with our general plan policy. The second item is to amend table 17.32.010-1 relating to permitted uses in commercial districts. This specifically changes the mini storage facility use-specific regulations. Currently, as written, the code improperly references table or section 17.16.060 temporary uses and buildings. This change would have the table properly reference 17.44.060 mini storage overlay for the use-specific regulations. The third item amends section 17.04.060 by adding estheticians, permanent makeup artists, certified massage therapists to the personal services low impact definition, as well as medical estheticians to professional offices. This would allow greater clarity to staff and potential businesses looking to provide these services as to whether they will require a use permit or not. And the final change is to amend section 17.16.090, the city's use-specific regulations for car and vehicle washes. This would align the city's zoning code with Assembly Bill 2230, which was approved on September 25th, 2012, requiring car and vehicle washes with a in-bay car wash or conveyor belt car wash to recycle and reuse at least 60% of the wash and rinse water. So I am available for any questions you guys may have.
Thank you, Connor. Madam Clerk, do we have any questions from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have not received any written communication on this item. Public members on Zoom, would anyone like to speak on this item?
Having none from the public, Vice Mayor Thompson is in the queue.
Thank you. Can you clarify specifically the impact, the third item or C or whatever you want to call it, estheticians, makeup, massage therapists, in that, how this change will impact those businesses?
So currently, as written, the definition for a personal service low impact is very vague, which allows staff to interpret it as they decide based off of the current definition. So this would add that to that. Currently, anyone that's providing these services, they would remain as they are. But anyone who's looking to apply, they want to open up a permanent makeup, they want to do something like that. This would make it easier for them to understand the process they'll have to go through. So this would just allow them to know it's a use permitted by right. They'll apply for their business license and they'd go through the standard zoning check to make sure it complies with that.
So the process, this clarifies and makes it easier for those businesses?
Yes.
Great.
Are there any other questions from the dais on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I do have one public speaker on this item. They had unmuted themselves and then they put a comment in here to speak. So Bore would like to speak on this item.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
This is Bobby O'Reilly. Thank you. I just wanted to speak on the first table 17.28.010-1, the allowable uses for single-family dwellings, and what was said versus what is written here, and maybe a little clarification as to locations that this would be referencing. This is, I would hope that this is not taking the ability for property owners who have purchased properties, especially in light of the fires and such, that were permissible to build their family homes on properties, and taking that ability away from them to do that with this modification. Any kind of clarification would be fantastic. Thank you.
So,
Connor, will you push your mic, please? Thank you.
So currently, for reference, some locations within the city that are zoned RP, on the corner of Bird and Pine, there are 3 parcels that are currently developed. that are zoned RP, which is residential professional, which allows for residents and offices to be in close proximity to each other. R3 zones, those can be found, for example, the Winston Gardens on Mitchell. That is zoned R3, and a couple parcels in Thermalito across from Tuscan Villa Apartments, as well as some parcels within the downtown area along Safford and Montgomery. So most of these parcels are currently developed. The density requirements are above those that would feasibly allow a single-family dwelling unit if someone's looking to develop. So for R4 and RP, that's 20 to 30 dwelling units per acre. And in an R3 zone, that's 14 to 20 dwelling units per acre. So currently, most of these properties that have these zones are developed. Many of them do have multifamily developments on them already. Some of them do have single-family homes, and that would render them non-conforming, I believe. But this shouldn't run into any issues with someone looking to develop, like say, a single-family home on a parcel.
Does that satisfy your question, Mr. O'Reilly?
Can you clarify, maybe I can help?
Yes, Mayor, thank you.
Mr. DiPaolo would like to clarify a little further.
If something
for me.
is existing there already and it'll be legal non-conforming, meaning that use can continue there now, if they were to tear it down or something, they would have to go to the higher density in the future. Additionally, if someone has purchased, he's talking about Campfire or new North Complex Fire. If they've purchased a lot currently during this period of time, we would take those into consideration if they brought an application and said what they were looking for, and we would take that on a case by case. They'd have to be able to show when they purchased it and whatnot, and being recent prior to this, we would look at those on a case by case basis as well. So.
Thank you.
Thank you, Leo.
If there are no questions from the dais, no further questions from the dais, looking to waive the first reading and introduce by title only ordinance number 1850.
So moved?
I'll second.
Councilmember Goodson?
Yes.
Councilmember Draper?
Yes.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
Mr. Mayor and Council, I just want to take a moment and recognize Connor. This is the first time that I'm aware of that Connor's presented to the council, and I think he did an outstanding job delivering the information concisely and thoroughly and answering questions, too, that were unscripted and unprepared. So, Connor, well done.
Yeah,
Yes.
good job. Thank you, Connor. Welcome to the show. Okay, moving on to item number 6, zoning code amendment and proposed revision of Oroville Municipal Code 17-20, the city's sign ordinance.
Mr. Mayor, staff respectfully request to continue this item till December 15th, along with item number 7 until December 15th.
Madam Clerk, this item will be continued to the meeting of December 15th. Moving on to item number 7, the Village at Ruddy Creek subdivision, including general plan amendment GPA 20-01, zoning amendment ZC 20-02, tentative subdivision map TSM 2001, and a proposed annexation.
Mr. Mayor, staff respectfully request to continue this item as well to December 15th.
Madam Clerk, this item will be continued to the meeting of December 15th. And with that, we will close public hearing. Moving on to regular business, item number 8, utility user tax.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and Council. This item is being brought back to you at the request of the Vice Mayor from November 3, 2020. The City Council expressed an interest at the time to review the city's utility tax user rate for the city of Oroville, 3.28 of the Oroville City Code. Currently, all electrical, gas, and water are taxed at 5%. Telephone and cable are taxed at 4.5%. This generates approximately $1.9 million of revenue for the city each year that is used for general fund purposes and for just general purposes. The council has asked to have this to come back for review because some community members have asked about this previously and would like to have the council review this. A couple of the things that I would remind the council on this, as you consider this and deliberate this, is that anytime that you remove a tax, such as a utility user tax, if you eliminate it, you can't just reinstate it because things went bad. You have to go back to a vote of the people to have this reinstated. If you reduce it from 5% hypothetically to 4%, you can't decide because 4% is not enough. You got to go back and raise it. That you again have to go back to the people. So any acts that you take on this are long-reaching and far-affecting. So you need to be very deliberative about this and think about what you're doing and how you're going to go about doing this. So, but there are things that you can do. I mean, there are areas that you can work within this. So what staff has done at this point is just prepared a real brief staff report for you and give you some options. Your options are, there's 4 of them. You can eliminate the user sales, the utility user tax. You can leave the utility user tax as it is. You can lower the utility user tax, or you can create a rebate program for senior citizens or for whomever you like, if you'd like to do that. I have included a couple examples of what Chico does currently with Chico, the city to the north of us, of course. What they do is for low-income senior citizens, they allow a rebate program for this. In December of each year, an individual can bring in their bills attached to the rebate form requesting a rebate of the utility user tax. If everything's in order and they meet all the necessary criterion, the rebate is issued. So that is something that you can do if you choose to do that. You can do whichever you like with this, but that is something you can do that would not require any sort of change. If something came along and you decided that, hey, we no longer want to do this, you don't have to go back to a vote of the people to change that. You can just end the rebate program if you choose to do that. So that is an option. So what we're looking for tonight is just to give us some direction about where you would like us to take this, what you would like to see, or what you wouldn't like to see, or what would you like us to do. This is completely a council discussion and a council decision. We just need to know what you want, and we will start working on that.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any comments from the public on this item?
Mr. Mayor, I have not received any written communication.
I believe you have one letter.
Oh, yes, sorry, I take that back. Sorry, Mr. Mayor. I do have written communication from Lorraine Christensen, which I have emailed to all of you, and those of you here in the council chambers have a copy in front of you. And then the public on Zoom, is there anyone wishing to speak on this item?
I wish to speak when it's my turn.
All right, Mr. Mayor, Bobby O'Reilly would like to speak on this item.
Mr. O'Reilly.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, Council. Bobby O'Reilly again. I'd just say I'd like to see personally, and speaking to others who express strong concerns of this utility tax. Obviously, many of us have heard from Mr. and Mrs. Christensen about this, and Mr. Christensen has great knowledge of this and has enlightened myself, and I've been able to share a lot of stuff about this tax. My personal opinion, I'd like to just see it go to a vote of the people altogether, so that way we can say this is what we should do or this is what we shouldn't do. Then when that happens, that's the voice of the people who have spoke. The utility user tax is extremely high for its purpose, and in the fact that we did recently get the Measure U funding tax raise. So I would just like to express my opinion that I would like to see the whole thing go on the next ballot to the people to be able to speak out about what we would like. Thank you.
Are there any other comments from the public?
Yes, Senior Hirschman.
Ms. Hirschman.
I'd like to see the city not only look at identifying next time we speak on this about the need for such a high tax to consumers here in the city. But I also want to recognize that since the city built a well in downtown Oroville to accommodate the veterans, which is a very noble thing, they recognize the exorbitant nature that people downtown pay for water with Cal Water. And since the city recognizes it, thereby bypassing Cal Water and pulling their own water, I'd like to see what the city will do for its citizens who also have exorbitant water rates.
Celia, can I ask a question, please? What well are you talking about?
I was told, and I saw it on an agenda, that you built a water well by the new Veterans Village that you're creating downtown. Am I correct?
No, there's no wells. The city's put in no wells.
It's a mock well that was donated by Rotary.
Not the Veterans Village. That's either over on Mitchell or down at the 700 block in Montgomery. We've put in no water wells.
So what is the well, and what does a mock well mean?
There was a restoration of up at the school district or the county education offices that the Rotary did of a old one of those hand pump ones like you'd see.
Something they did in one of the parks, you mean?
Right. It's not there. The city has drilled no wells or put in no wells in the downtown area, and we're unaware of any wells that anyone else has put in the downtown area. I think there was a piece of.
Okay, the time has expired, and I'm sorry, we're on a specific agendized item. Are there any other
And
comments?
so it goes.
Mr. Mayor, I do not see anyone else from the public wishing to speak on this item.
Having none, Vice Mayor Thompson is in the queue.
Thank you. Are we going to read Lorraine's email? If I can read it for us.
That's up to you, Vice Mayor.
Right.
We typically just direct people to the website, but you're more than welcome to.
It's pretty sure I can just read it I'm a quick reader. In the time it has taken, this is from Lorraine Christensen. In the time it's taken the city to revisit the utility user tax, the city has been reaping the benefits of the 1% sales tax increase. Recent budget reports verified the sales tax has proven to be more lucrative than anticipated. The city now has a nice surplus, and that is a good thing since the tax revenue is now coming from the entire community. And those that visit our town, I feel strongly it is time to give Oroville City residents relief from the utility user tax. It was rushed through just before voter approval was required for the raising of taxes or imposing new ones. It appears to me that the Oroville City Council is critical of other entities for not lowering their rates when you yourselves have not lowered or not been willing to lower the given city residents relief from the UUT. Cal Water continues to be demonized for excessive rates. It has been blamed for borrowing the browning of downtown Oroville. A councilor campaigned for a seat in 2016 election by using the reduction of Cal Water excessive rates as bait. It worked. She won. Later, rates were raised, not deduced. My question to this council is, why do you expect Cal Water to cut their rates when you could lower water rates? You could lower water rates 5% by eliminating the UT when you have not. The city is entering into agreement with the middleman, adding another bureaucracy, trying to lower PG&E rates. Why do you feel it's okay to give taxpayer dollars to third party to lower PG&E rates when you have the power to lower them by 5% and you have not? And last paragraph, I hope this council will consider doing the right thing for our residents. Both forms of add-on tax and the full 1% sales tax are coupled with the UT place Oroville City residents in the highest tax city in Northern California. Our unemployment poverty rates are also very high when compared to other cities in California. I hope you'll consider giving Oroville residents some tax relief by limiting the utility user tax. Thank you, Lorraine Christensen. Thank you for giving me patience to read that. I really do agree with Mr. and Mrs. Christensen on this. Last year, we did talk about this, and we were not sure as far as the income for the sales tax. And it stayed here, and I agree we've gotten in a lot more with the sales tax and in the middle of a pandemic than what we were expecting. And so I know that, we have a surplus when many families in Oroville are suffering, not just this year with the pandemic, but are of lower income. And so my recommendation to council is to either cut it in half or reduce it, or remove it at a minimum to provide relief to people who are elderly or low income. But if we are to do that, my suggestion would be for it not to be an annual thing that they have to do every year. From my understanding in Chico, you got to do that every year. And so every 5 years, every 10 years, but not an annual thing what people have to fill out paperwork for. So
You can't do that because you don't know what the tax will be every year. So it has to be, you have to provide those bills so we know what to give you back. I mean, you can fill out the application and be eligible for it and do, to lighten the paperwork load that way, but every year we have to have the bills in order to see what we would be rebating. Because, as things go up, that 5% increases and it becomes more, or as you use less, it goes down and it could be less. So that would be the problem with that. But I do see what you're saying about, eligibility, making someone eligible like 3 years at a time, and then every 3 years, just kind of re-upping that, assuring that the eligibility is still the same.
yeah, I'm just picturing, obviously.
Is it possible?
So obviously there are many different demographics in Oroville, but I'm, picturing a widow, woman who's in her house by herself, trying to make ends meet, and potentially has health issues, having to stress over getting the paperwork down to City Hall. That just seems to me that there's got to be a way around, having something like that, having to do that every year. Just seems to be real cumbersome for our community. I think we can either cut it in half or remove it, but at a minimum, there definitely should be that allowance for people who are of low income or elderly.
Right. Well, the problem with doing what you're suggesting, where we just do it
Right.
annually, is that we don't send those bills. We don't know what your utility bills are. I mean, so that's why we need the information back. It could be something as simple as there's a form provided here. You just write it down on there and you turn it into us, once a year. You provide some backup that we may need to look at to verify it, and then we issue the rebate. There are many things we can do. And what we'll do, Vice Mayor, is we will look at those options and bring those options back to you of things that we could possibly do, and see if we can find a model out there that is what you're asking for. See if somebody's doing that somehow on an averaging or some other model to figure out what that is. But we will certainly look into that and try to come up with some sort of a program such as that, if that's what you would like.
One thing that I do think that this council needs to weigh in the decision today in regards to this is that we are looking at doing some annexation, and I know that increased taxes, that this right here is a point of contention. I know for many people, Thermalito is one of the larger areas that we're looking at annexing. And so this UUT is definitely something that is a point of consideration for people who are opposed to annexation of having to increase their utilities because they're being brought into the city.
Yes, sir.
I have a question or a comment.
Excuse me, Councilmember Draper, I'll call you when it's your turn in the queue. Councilmember Pittman?
Thank you, Mayor. Couple questions, and maybe from the Chico experience, if we have someone experienced here in the room. I was curious about the participation level and the difficulty with the staff having to deal with this. Was it problematic? And I certainly understand the Vice Mayor's point of having to be approved to say like 3 years, but at the same time, if you're 3 years and you fixed a certain amount and one of those utilities go up, you would certainly want to report that on the form to make sure your rebate was maybe even better, and that kind of thing. So I'm curious, the experience level that might happen to the city, and was it a popular program, or is it a popular program?
As a senior that pays it, I believe Tom is up here to comment on that.
Thank you, Bill. It was not an issue at all with staff. The participation rate, I think, was maybe 20, 30%. Most of us, and just being clear about it, most of us don't save our utility bills, and particularly since they're electronic. Actually, I think participation's gone up since they've been electronic. I'll take that back.
Oh,
Because it's easy to recover those records.
yeah.
But it was not a burden on staff.
And if the council, I just bring their attention to item number 8, page 171 of the council agenda. This is the form that you would fill out. It's a single page form. All you do is write in under each one what you paid each month in utility user tax for water service, gas service, telephone service, and then you just total it. At the end of the year, you total the right column, and that would be what your refund would be, up to a certain amount. If we were to model the Chico model exactly. You can create your own model, or how you would like to do it. But this is just one example that we found that was local and that was being utilized, just to give you some food for thought.
Councilmember Draper.
Oh, yeah. I just wanted to address Ms. Christensen's fourth paragraph where she refers to me in my run for city council in 2016. And as everybody, most people know, I never guaranteed that I could get the lower water rates. Everybody knows it takes a full vote of a council to do anything. And what I ran on was hoping that we could get fair water rates. And I am thankful to the CEO of Oroville Hospital, Bob Wentz, for providing the $30,000 for the LAFCO report, which took 18 months, by the way. And then at the end of it, we found that in order to do anything, a JPA would have had to have been formed. And obviously, there was not the interest on the council to do that. And maybe this new council will be interested in that. At any rate, we did our best on it, and as a Cal Water user, I share her concerns about those water rates. Thank you.
Well, okay. Councilmember Goodson.
Councilmember Goodson, you're still muted.
Thank you. I was listening to Vice Mayor Scott in regards to a rebate program for senior citizens. And I was wondering, in conjunction with that idea, could we also look into some type of program for those who live below the poverty level as well? Bill?
Yes, ma'am, I'll add that on there.
Thank you.
Councilmember Hatley.
Thank you. A couple of questions. I recall that that utility user tax, that's what helped save us in the last crisis we went through. Right now, I'm a little apprehensive of doing anything to reduce $1.9 million from our budget for this reason alone. Do I like paying this myself? No, I don't like paying any more than anybody else in this city. However, I understand the reason for it, and I saw what it did for us not long ago. I realize we have a surplus now. Hopefully that'll stay that way, but if somebody has a crystal ball to tell me it's going to, that's fine. And especially now that we have apparently a new regime in the upper government, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what's going to happen to us. We don't know any of this. And then with so many counties now in the purple and the governor shutting everything down again, $6 million is a lot of money, don't get me wrong. But $6 million can go in a heartbeat in this business. So to me, I'm very reluctant to take anything away from us right now till things settle down and kind of stabilize a little bit, so we kind of know where we're going and where we're at in this deal. Now, the other thing too is, apparently you're going to have to set up some kind of a special account or rebate if you're going to give back seniors or low income or whatever back money. So all the money that's taken in, you're going to have to set something up because it's going into the general fund. So the general fund would look this big, when in reality, if we were going to give part of it back, would really be this big. And so that concerns me a little bit. And also the other thing, on the annexation, I understand, again, I don't like paying it either, but I understand the reason for it. And on annexation, that's 1.9 million that we're going to need, because we're going to need more police, we're going to need more fire, we're going to need a lot of different things, more public works, we're going to need a whole lot of more different people and services that are going to be required when you annex those areas. So again, I am very reluctant to take away $1.9 million right now out of our budget, I am, and therefore that's why you will see a no vote from me on this at this time. If we can see something so stabilizes, I'm reasonable. I am, believe it or not, but I want to make sure that everybody is taken care of, and that we don't jump into something kind of a knee-jerk reaction type of deal. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilmember Smith.
I appreciate all the comments that I've heard, and I'm sure we could talk about this for a long time. As far as the stability of our community, I think, again, we're a community. So when I think about all the people impacted by attacks, I mean, one thing that government never does is give things back. Usually we just keep taking more. So I think just even having the gumption to tackle this, and in particular in challenging times that we're in, I think, and I just hats off to Vice Mayor for, I think, even bringing this up and considering the impacts to all our community regarding COVID and just the general situation. I think that I'd like to see us explore a model that's been presented here from going to the comments that Vice Mayor Thompson has made. I'm comfortable with that. Some sort of hybrid concept, and then also given Councilman Hatley's comments about impacts, and of course we have a fiduciary responsibility to make sure that the city is solvent. So I need to see what those impacts might look like. But I think that this has been an ongoing issue for a long time. I think that that can be a point of contention, in particular as we think about annexing and spreading our influence in an ever expanding way. That I think that it at least offers an olive branch to those that are pushing back. That we're taking all these things into consideration. We're trying to be reasonable. We're looking at this, and I think that's positive messaging. And again, when I think about the impact of the most challenged in our community, typically, for example, we don't tax food. There's a reason why we don't do that, because it's the essentials of life. I think about basic heating and energy in a home. Those are the essentials of life that everyone needs. And so, I think having some level of compassion and recognition of that in the form of this rebate program that's been suggested here, I'm open to, and I would like to further the conversation, I guess is what I'm saying. Make a long story short. And again, I just appreciate Vice Mayor having the gumption to do it. Thank you.
Councilmember Pittman.
Yeah, listening to the discussion is great. I'm certainly, at this point, favor the rebate, especially listening to Councilman Hatley's discussion, because we don't know the future. And the rebate gives, I think, the council the flexibility to deal with this. And each year we'll have some fixed numbers to know what it is, especially after we have the applications in that come for it. I would like to see this to come back with some estimated costs based upon our resident population that might fit these income categories at this current level suggested by Chico. But I'd also like to see another table where the refund was 40% higher than it is on this table. So we just take those numbers and add 40% to those. And I look at that as a kind of my perception of a little more reasonable number. And if we can get estimates as to what that may be, so that we know we're not flying too blind in this thing, it'd be an interesting thing, because I think that's as Councilman Smith says, I think it's novel, and I think it's a great way to offer something back to this population in our community that is on a fixed income.
Councilman Pittman, if I could just ask a clarifying question on that.
Sure.
The plus 40%, are you talking about the maximum refund
Maximum
amount
refund.
or the family income?
No, the maximum refund
Okay.
would be 40% higher than
Right.
what's listed here in this table.
Thank you, sir.
That's all I'm looking at, just so we can get a scan of what is possible. And, the 105, you add 40% to that, I think that's a much more reasonable number if we're gonna offer a rebate. And of course, I'm assuming, and maybe the attorney can weigh in, if that doesn't work and we don't have enough to do that, I guess we can change the rebate, correct? Okay, thank you.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
I appreciate the willingness to discuss this from council. And I appreciate the openness to the, at least at a minimum, the rebate program. I do think that obviously, and I think that's why taxes always seem to go up, and in government, even I think with government jobs, oftentimes cities and entities, the public entities don't even like to lose positions, because once you lose a staff position, you have to fight to get it back. And so oftentimes cities will hold a position and spend the money, just because if they don't spend it or have the position, then they may lose the position. So it's just how the beast works. It's just never satisfied, government as far as money. There's just, I just want to put things in a little bit of, just to reiterate the reality of the fact that we are in a pandemic, that many families have been lost income, lost jobs, and in the middle of all of that, the city is in a worldwide horrible situation. I don't know. I mean, obviously, it could get worse, and then the aliens show up, right? We are living in the middle of one of the worst case scenarios that our country's seen in a long time. And in the middle of a worst case scenario here, we are having a surplus, not just of $1 million. If this was horrible and we had a 1.5 surplus, I think we'd all be going, yay, we made it, our bills are paid, when other people are tanking. But the fact is that in the middle of this situation, the fact that we have a $6 million surplus, from my understanding, I could be wrong on the estimate, but is that?
Just for clarity, yeah, we do have a surplus, but let's not confuse a sustainable ongoing surplus with a one-time surplus.
Sure.
Because some of those are, up to $3 million of that is one-time dollars.
Okay, so but we do have a multi-million-dollar
Yes, sir.
surplus.
Absolutely. We did last year.
In the middle of a pandemic.
Correct.
So, and there are families right now that, $100 would mean Christmas. And to me, that's huge. So the fact that we're sitting on millions and we're good in the middle of a pandemic, I think it would be a good gesture to our community, especially as we look to continue to grow our community, to at least offer relief for people who truly are in dire straits. And I think that at least at a minimum, the waiver for elderly and for those who living below the poverty line, as Councilwoman Goodson said, I think that would be I think that'd be great. I think I think it's necessary. I think as a public servant that it's something that should be done. But so I would love to see it removed, but at a minimum, I'm definitely asking for this waiver.
Councilmember Smith.
And just one more quick comment, just on the eligibility and requirements that were kind of spoken to. I think once eligibility is established, especially if you're a senior, I don't think that changes. So to have to reestablish that annually, I mean, there might be some things we can do to, again, minimize red tape and all of that. Summaries on bills, I mean, again, that's just all on the back end and, evaluating it. But to make this process as painless as possible, obviously, if it's income eligibility, then that's going to have to be obviously, given annually.
Well, probably once you're established that that this is there, we'll do some sort of, and I'm just speculating right now and just pitching ideas would be to do a self-certification type of thing, and then every 4th to 5th year, whatever, verify that it is still the same, and then they self-certify from there on, because, you know, there are a lot of senior citizens that do live on Social Security and pensions, and those don't typically change. Not much, anyway.
Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you. And actually, in our lower income housing market, I learned this from the Housing Authority, that many of those are actually spending 60% of their income on housing costs, and that's way too high. And that's a figure that I think we're addressing with this rebate, just looking at and respecting that fact. But many of those have to produce income statements anyway. So it shouldn't be with outside the norm, and to have a first eligibility and then just a refresher of numbers, because, you know, that if I were in this program and one of these bills went way high, I'd want to, you know, make sure to, maybe I get a better rebate. So I'd want to have the opportunity to resubmit new numbers. So, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, I'll weigh in a little bit. I know that there's a lot of things wrong with the infrastructure of this city, including the infrastructure of the employee positions being filled, including police, fire, city staff. And here we are. Yes, things have turned around. Thank goodness. And I know that all of you get calls, emails, letters from public all the time. What about this? Fix that. What are you going to do about this? Well, this is the money that pays for those things. So how much road, how many police officers, how many firemen does this money pay for? Because those same people that are saying we would love to have this break, small break, which I'm all for giving people breaks, but to comment on Councilmember Hatley's comments, we don't know where this government is in an unstable position. We know that it's been stable for the last 4 years, but for the 8 before that, it was in a nosedive. And I will tell you, I think we're in for a real bad ride here. And those same people that are saying, hey, what about a break, are the same ones that are saying they want more police, more fire. They want the roads fixed. I seen a pothole. I want somebody on it. You give this whole thing back, and then we're sitting here struggling in 6 months or a year. Those same people will be the ones that are telling you what a bad job you're doing. You have a fiduciary responsibility to the whole community to fix the roads, to hire the police, to hire the fire. So although I'm in agreement with Vice Mayor on many things, this one is we're a little off on, because I like the way he's willing to consider a rebate for elderly, low-income people, because that is what my consideration would be, a rebate. Because if it's worth it to you, you will fill out the one piece of paper to get a rebate. And that way, if things get bad, we have control over a rebate. We don't have control over reductions and things like that. So the only thing that I would be willing to consider would be a rebate for elderly, low income. So personally, I don't have enough information on what these numbers look like, Mr. City Administrator. So I'd kind of like to see some of this played out on some good old-fashioned spreadsheets or however you want to do it, so we can see what this looks like. Because just throwing around ideas, there's numbers attached to every one of them.
You're asking for something that's impossible, because we don't know who would put in for that. What we can do is bring back some hypotheticals. What we do know, this generates $1.9 million, and what you know is anything that you rebate, you take away from that $1.9 million. So we can do some hypotheticals of demographics that may meet the income eligibility requirements and what that would look like if everybody did it, 50% did it, 25% did it. But I just want to be clear that, you know, I can't tell you exactly down to the penny what this is going to be. I mean, I can give you some ideas, though, of what that would mean to us.
Right. Hypothetical is what I'm looking for. Okay. I realize that this is just out in the air right now. There's no hard numbers on anything.
Yes, sir. I can bring that back.
Okay, it looks like we lit up the queue again. So, Councilmember Draper.
Thank you. I agree with Councilor Hatley and with the mayor that we need to really exercise caution approaching this issue. When I came onto the council in January 2017, we were told we were 1.5 million in the red. We had to do layoffs. We had to freeze positions. That first year, I did not accept the city insurance because I was so concerned about the budget deficit. I wanted to attend the League of Cities conference in Sacramento, and I paid the $550 out of my own pocket. I didn't want the city to pay for it because they were in such dire straits financially. And so while I empathize with people that are struggling, and I hope that there's maybe a way that, you know, there could be some kind of rebate or something. I would add that, you know, this is going to be something that might be a Pandora's box, that we don't know the financial situation we're going to be in a year from now or longer. And so I would really recommend caution and fiscal restraint here before, you know, anything too major is done. Thank you.
I want that on the record that Councilmember Draper agreed with me. Councilmember Smith.
Mark it on your calendar. That's what I'll do.
Councilmember Smith.
Just to add a couple things, I think my comments were more along the line of the rebate concept, so that you definitely have control. I think that's very important. Additionally, I think you can collect that data with just the demographics by age in our city, and just it's a ballpark. Obviously, you can't get down to the penny, but I think we could use some basic.
Well, it's not only you're not only trying to. It's going to be so. Just a guess. It's a guesstimate, I guess is what I could say, because you have no idea what anybody spends on utilities, because you got to guess that variable too. I mean, so that everything is just a guess.
Yeah, laws of average.
It's a thought. I mean,
maybe we could ask for some public input. Just an idea.
That's about what I can bring it back. I can bring it back to you with some ideas of what I what I think it may be, and I'm going to base it off of what my usage is. And I guess what I'll do is I'll figure out square footage maybe, and
I can tell you what mine is. I know I've got a $600 water bill a month because I've got a 90-year-old father with 12 hoses going full blast all the time, watering the trees.
I will bring you back something. I don't know. I just don't want the council to think that, hey, this is an absolute, you can bank on this, because I may underestimate, I may overestimate.
Councilmember Goodson.
Thank you. I'm in agreement with Mayor Reynolds and Council Member Hatley. We are in a COVID pandemic situation. we're still trying to navigate through unfamiliar waters here. But I know that when we consider, and I am an advocate for creating a rebate program for senior citizens and for the those that live below the poverty level. But just remember that approximately 34 to 38% of our population does live below the poverty level. So that is certainly going to affect our bottom line in that 1.8 million, or is it 1.9? 34 to 38% live below the poverty level.
Thank you. Yeah, and I also remember coming in here a couple of years ago, and this city hall was nearly empty. There was only a few people working here, and I remember City Administrator LaGrone taking a 10% pay cut to help the city. The city was in more than financial hardship. They were discussing bankruptcy and everything else. I believe that a strong city can provide for its community in other ways with the development and the solvency of the city. There's employment offered. There's programs offered. I caught a little bit of that hard time when I was here, or when I first got here, and that wasn't very long ago. So I'm a little gun shy. Vice Mayor Thompson.
Thank you. So it sounds like the more of a consensus and the willingness is on the rebate, which should be great. Mr. LaGrone, do the businesses in town also pay the utility user tax?
Everyone does.
So just to clarify, as far as some of the fears of, I know that like our Councilwoman Goodson said 38%. I know that businesses in town, some of them specifically, pay way more than a large portion of the population in utilities. The Pacific Coast, or
PCP,
thank you.
Pacific Coast Producers.
Yeah,
You're right on
that
track.
they pay a ton in utilities every month. So the 1.9, it sounds like the more of the direction is to bring it back with some statistics in that. I would like to know, because there's a lot of businesses in town that pay a ton of taxes or a ton of utilities. And so, just because the number that Councilwoman Goodson stated, about 38%, are below that poverty line, that doesn't mean that if all 38% were to file for it, that our 1.9 would go down 38%, because there's a good possibility, in my opinion, that possibly even half of the 1.9 or more comes from our businesses. And so of that, it would only be 38% of 50%. So, and then how many of the 38% would actually apply for it? So it's all hypothetical, but
Right.
just stating out there, there's a lot of businesses out there that pay a ton in utilities, and some of the people who live in the lower income, they do have smaller houses. And so I know that the amount, I don't think the amount for them would be an exorbitant amount. I do think that the city could handle it. And it sounds to me like the city's direction right now would be come back with some figures, but I am definitely hopeful that we can come back and look at the rebate program.
And I think, just so for clarity, so that I want to repeat to you what I'm hearing, you'd like to also see what the business contribution as opposed to the homeowner contribution is, and what that would look like.
Can we see that? Is that
we
information
can-
available?
Well, we're extrapolating everything else out, so heck, let's go for it. May as well.
We'll spend $300,000 just to see if this is viable or not.
Crystal ball out.
$300,000.
And I understand, we'll do the best we can on that, so that, we'll try to figure that out as best we can.
But yeah, I
With
definitely think that the businesses pay a large portion, or at least a huge chunk of the 1.9. And so.
Okay.
And I would like to say, Vice Mayor, that a big step here was opening up this conversation, and really appreciate your heart for the community. So looking forward to see what you have for us.
We
Mr.
will,
LeGrand.
we will return with this with some, it'll be a PowerPoint presentation with all of your options and.
When will you
with the-
return?
With the disclaimer that these.
This is all
are-
just
8
protection.
a.m. tomorrow.
Are you kidding? He's gonna sign it to Ruth.
So then if Ruth's got it, it'll be done tomorrow. She is.
Then there won't be a disclaimer, there'll just be criticism from me. So, I mean, so that's, no, this is quite a task. So I would say that we probably return to council in 60 days. I mean, with this information as best we can, maybe sooner.
Thank you. So I believe it's a consensus of this council to move forward to direct our staff to see what some of these ideas look like and at least provide some hypotheticals. We know it's a big task, and we got a great team.
And I will be making a motion, just so you know, not today, but when it comes
Yes, sir.
back.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, moving on to item number 9, approval of a resolution to transfer assessor's parcel number 013-130-026 to Oroville Union High School District.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. This request actually came to us from the Oroville Union High School District as a request for an easement deed because they have purchased electric school buses, but they do not have the charging facilities on their current parcel to install a meter and those charging stations. So they called us requesting this easement deed. Unbeknownst to us, we own the property that the buses are parked on. It is about a 1/10 of an acre parcel that fronts Washington that is adjacent, and you'll see on page 182 and 183 of your agenda packets, the location. The fence sits across approximately the center of that parcel, making it unusable at this time. Staff has discussed selling the property to the Oroville Union High School District for fair market value. According to a recent property sale, we estimate the property value of this parcel to be about $12,000, with the appraisal value at about $750. But because it's another agency, we've discussed transferring this parcel to the Oroville Union High School District for the cost of the escrow fees, or title and escrow. So, any questions?
Mr. Mayor, if I could just weigh in on this. The reason why the transfer with no exchange of dollars is we are both non-property tax paying entities. It doesn't do anything for the city to do that. This is unusable property for the city. The school has been using it for many years, and I would also take the opportunity to remind the council the districts have been very good partners to this city for a long time. They fund a couple of police officer positions each year through the SRO program and have been just great partners to us. So I think it makes good sense at this time to make this offer to them as long as they cover all of the cost of any escrow, transfer fees, appraisals, or surveys that are necessary. We are going to spend $0 out of pocket, but we're not going to receive any dollars back either, would be staff's recommendation.
Madam Clerk, do we have any comments from the public?
Mr. Mayor, I have not received any written communication on this. Members of the public on Zoom, would anyone like to speak on this item?
Having none, Councilmember
Yeah.
Pittman's in the queue.
Mr. Mayor, it looks like we do have one speaker on this item.
Do we have a speaker on this item?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Bobby O'Reilly. I just quickly like to say I appreciate your guys' due diligence in working with folks such as the school district and others that are making the community better, doing their part to keep our community safer and teaching our kids wonderful ideas. And I appreciate you guys doing this.
Thank you. Councilmember Pittman?
Yeah, I'm in support of this transfer, and short history on it. One of the reasons the city has that parcel is there was an idea about expanding and widening out Washington. So that thought pattern was the first thing to step to widen out Washington. and acquire all the residences up to East Side School, but that's just not a reality. And it really is surplus property. It really has no purpose for us, but that's the short history why we have it.
Mr. Huber, did you wish to say something?
Yeah, a couple of things. One, I appreciate that there's a note in the comment section here about confirming the assessor's parcel number. We will certainly do that. It appears that the assessor's parcel number may be 013-013-026, but we'll confirm the parcel number. But that highlighted parcel on the map is the correct parcel. But I did want to address one issue that, from a legal standpoint, you'll notice in the resolution, the first paragraph says that the council finds that the transfer will benefit the residents of the city of Oroville. Typically, you are prohibited from gifting public funds or gifting property to other public agencies. With that finding, what you are finding is that this transfer of the property will benefit the citizens of Oroville. Thereby, it is not, by definition, a gift of public funds. I just wanted to address that issue up front and deal with it head on, so no one alleges this is an improper gift of public funds. It isn't. There is a public purpose for it, and by including that in the resolution, the council would be making a determination that the citizens of this community will receive a tangible benefit by transferring this to the school district.
And Mr. Mayor, from staff's perspective, what that benefit is to the community and the citizens of Oroville is the usage of the electric buses, the impact on the environment, but also the savings that the school district will see as a result of that, and the improved air quality. So we believe that all of these things are necessary to employ that electric fleet that the school has purchased.
That's what I said.
Thank you. That's what I heard. Councilmember Hatley.
Thank you. Since that was the old Feather Plunge, the old community swimming pool, I just want to make sure when we get rid of when we transfer the property, that we don't encumber, if they go out there and they put a shovel in the dirt and all of a sudden they come back and say, oh, wait a minute, there's something there that was from the old pool. I don't know that there is. Will it be written in a way that we're covered so they don't come back on us and say, well, you have to clean it up before you can.
That
I just
it's
want to be
as
out of
is.
that realm if there's even a possibility, because I don't know what chemicals they used back in those days, when that plunge was there and exactly how they took it out.
Or if there may be a tank hidden under there.
Well, we know there's a tank under there.
I just want to make sure that we don't end up with something and then all of a sudden they come back on us and go, wait a minute, now you need $1 million worth of cleanup on it.
Councilmember, we will make sure the documents that transfer this property will do so in an as-is, where-is condition, and typically that's done with a quitclaim deed. A quitclaim deed carries no warranties other than we're giving title to them with no warranty of habitability for any purpose or for any particular use. We're not giving them any warranties as to what's in the ground, underneath the dirt, whether it's fit for any purpose. It's just, we have title, now it's yours, and that's it.
Okay, thank you. That's what I needed to know. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. If there are no other comments, I'm looking for a motion to adopt resolution number 8912.
Mr. Mayor, can I make just one more quick comment to the council? What we're looking for out of this is, we do not have a reached deal with the school district yet. We're just asking for the authority to negotiate that with them. I believe that we are going to reach that quickly, and that they have expressed their interest in it, but their administration hasn't given the thumbs up on this yet. We just want the authority to enter that deal should they give that thumbs up. If not, we'll return back to you and let you know why the deal didn't proceed through.
Thank you. Looking for a motion?
I move that we adopt resolution number 8912.
I'll second that.
Councilmember, sorry, I thought I opened it. Councilmember Goodson,
Yes.
Councilmember Draper,
Yes.
Motion carries with 7 yeses and 0 nos.
And Mr. Mayor, I'd just like to go on the record, just for clarification of that motion, that motion is that we transfer the property at no cost other than the school district covering the cost of any transfer, escrows, or
No cost to the
appraisals.
city. Yes.
Correct. Okay, thank you, sir. I just want to put that on the record.
Okay, moving on to reports, discussions, and correspondence. Council announcements? Do we have any? Councilmember Pittman.
Thank you. I just wanted to make comment about an agency that I also said as another board member to, the Housing Authority. The last meeting, we received a full report from Standard & Poor's, and the credit rating of the Housing Authority of Butte County has been evaluated to a point of being the highest credit rating of almost any public agency. A tremendous report. So it's nice to know an agency in this county and their staff is doing a wonderful job. The other factor is there's a lot of new developments coming, and the Housing Authority is kind of right in the middle of it all. So the one thing I can report is there's a pretty fair spread of new housing for Chico and Oroville and Paradise at the same time. So those are new projects coming forward, and I'm sure we'll see them all. I know the development boys are having lots of fun with all the new projects, but I believe almost all of them, as far as tax credit projects, are been approved. Is that correct? Yeah. So we'll see some new things coming here, and I think all the agencies are in a nice coordinated affair of getting the projects move forward. So look forward to positive new housing improvements.
Thank you. Any other council announcements? Having none, Councilmember Hatley.
Thank you. I was wondering if at the next meeting, we could get a update on the cleaning of the storm drains and that, and where it's been cleaned and how much is left, and what, how much tonnage we're getting out of that.
The cleaning has been completed as of this date. There were only a few identified storm drains that were on our storm drain map that were unlocatable, or there was an abandoned car that parked in front of them that were not accessible. I can receive the tonnage from Duke Sherwood Contracting and provide that updated report to you at the next meeting.
Thank you.
And just to update you on where we're at with FEMA on that, they've been very receptive to the idea of that and are moving forward with our request for reimbursement for cleaning out those drainage inlets. So we've received nothing but positive feedback from them regarding that.
Okay, I think we've moved on to future agenda items. Is there anyone with a future agenda item?
Squeaky wheel here.
Vice Mayor Thompson.
I'm working on getting some black vinyl chain link fence put down the avenue there. You took a big step at the last meeting with the engineering contract, so we can get that out and get it properly engineered.
Mayor, did we announce the new manager at SCORE?
We did.
Okay. I didn't remember.
She's doing a great job.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to administration reports. Mr. LaGrone.
I have none at this time, thank you.
Mr. Lando.
Well, I think basically everybody in this room is working on a variety of residential and commercial projects. Quite a bit of activity that's going on, and then also in January, we'll probably wind up holding another neighborhood meeting on the Thermalito annexation.
Thank you. Mr. DePaula.
With regard to Councilman Pittman's comment on the tax credit work, there's,
Could I,
here we have 6 of them.
Leo, could I ask everybody to come up to the microphone because we have council members that are at home that probably can't hear.
With regard to the comments that Councilman Pittman made with the tax credit, affordable housing jobs, 6 projects are slotted for here in Oroville. We haven't received any we've received actually one submittal so far, more forthcoming. They all have pretty tight deadlines. And then Chico has 7 of them, and then I believe 2 up the hill. So they were all approved, and we got all the money that the county had coming. So that's pretty exciting. So.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good thing.
Ruth? Oh, did you have a question? Mr. Bennett? Okay. Ruth? Sure. One more time, Ruth?
It's got enough to do.
You always have good news for us, Ruth. Chief Deal?
No, sir. Thank you.
Dawn?
None at this time.
Mr. Attorney?
No, sir. Thank you.
Okay, well, with that, we will adjourn till December 15th, 2020 at 4:30 PM.
Yes.